The children of Staten Island had always whispered about him. He lived in the woods, they said, or maybe in the tunnels beneath the hospital ruins. He had a hook for a hand, or maybe an axe, or maybe he just waited, silent, until you strayed too far from the edge of the playground. His name was Cropsey. No one knew exactly where the story had started. It passed from older kids to younger ones in summer camps, schoolyards, sleepovers. Parents dismissed it as typical urban legend stuff, just another boogeyman stitched together from fragments of horror movies and teenage imagination. But by the 1980s, something dark had begun creeping through Staten Island. Children were disappearing, and suddenly, the myth didn't feel so mythical anymore. In the summer of 1987, a 12-year-old girl named Jennifer Schweiger vanished without a trace. She had Down syndrome. She was trusting. And when she left home for a short walk and never returned, Staten Island froze. The police searched, volunteers combed the woods, helicopters buzzed over abandoned buildings, but something about the case felt off, like they weren't just looking for a missing child, they were hunting something older, something whispered. The search led them to the edges of the old Willowbrook State School. And that's where Cropsey stopped being just a story. Willowbrook had been shuttered for a decade, but its reputation still haunted the island. It was a sprawling complex, buildings scattered through tangled woods, broken windows gaping like eye sockets, tunnels stretching below like veins through a corpse. It had once been one of the largest institutions for children with developmental disabilities in the United States. But in the 1970s, it became the center of a national scandal. Journalist Geraldo Rivera had snuck in with a camera crew and broadcast footage of children naked, neglected, and rocking in filth. The images shocked the country. Laws changed. Institutions closed. Willowbrook was abandoned. But not entirely. Rumors swirled for years that people still lived there. Homeless squatters, escaped patients, devil worshippers. Kids dared each other to sneak in, to touch the rusted gurneys or venture into the tunnels. Most were too scared. A few weren't. Some never came back. As the search for Jennifer Schweiger stretched into weeks, suspicion began to focus on a man who had once worked at Willowbrook. His name was Andre Rand. He had a history. He'd been arrested in the 1960s for attempting to kidnap a group of children from a YMCA. In the 1980s, he was charged with the abduction of a young girl, though the charges didn't stick. He had no fixed address, no job, no family. He was often seen pushing a shopping cart, digging through trash, and he was known to frequent the ruins of Willowbrook. It didn't take long before the whispers started. Rand was Cropsey, they said. The legend was real, and it had a name. Searchers returned to Willowbrook with new focus. The grounds were thick with overgrowth. Trees had clawed through concrete. Rats skittered through collapsed hallways. Mold grew in thick sheets along the walls, and beneath it all, the tunnels, miles of them, still wound through the earth like arteries. On August 9, 1987, 35 days after Jennifer disappeared, volunteers searching near one of the old buildings noticed a patch of disturbed soil. They started digging. 3 feet down, they hit something. It was Jennifer. Her small body had been buried in a shallow grave, less than 150 yards from Andre Rand's makeshift campsite. The island's nightmare had just stepped into daylight. Rand was arrested almost immediately, but the case was far from simple. There were no eyewitnesses to Jennifer's abduction. No direct physical evidence tied Rand to the crime scene. No confession, just proximity. Just the long, unsettling history. Just the stories. Prosecutors built a circumstantial case. Rand was seen in the area. He had access to the tunnels. He had a violent past. And he lived just a stone's throw from where the girl was buried. It was enough for a jury. In 1988, Andre Rand was convicted of kidnapping Jennifer Schweiger, though not of murder. He was sentenced to 25 years to life. But as the case made headlines, something else began to emerge. Jennifer wasn't the only child to vanish near Willowbrook. In 1972, 5-year-old Alice Pereira disappeared while playing in her building's hallway. She lived near Willowbrook. Andre Rand was working as a custodian at the time. In 1981, 7-year-old Holly Ann Hughes went to buy a bar of soap from a corner store and never came home. Witnesses later said Rand's green van had been spotted nearby. In 1983, 11-year-old Tia Hees Jackson vanished while visiting relatives. That same year, Rand was reportedly seen leading a group of children into the woods near Willowbrook. In 1984, Hank Gafforio, just 22 years old but developmentally delayed, disappeared after telling friends he was going to hang out with Rand. He was never seen again. The pattern was sickening. All vulnerable, all young, all vanished near the same place, and all linked in whispers and shadows to Andre Rand. But prosecution was tricky. In most of these cases, there were no bodies, no forensics, just echoes. For years, these disappearances sat cold, unofficially tethered to Rand, but legally out of reach. Then, in 2004, prosecutors made a move. They reopened the case of Holly Ann Hughes. 2 decades had passed. The evidence was still circumstantial, but new witnesses came forward. People who remembered seeing Rand that day, people who recalled him following Holly, and one who swore Rand had confessed during a stay at Rikers Island. It was enough. Rand was brought to trial again. In 2004, he was convicted of kidnapping Holly Ann Hughes and sentenced to another 25 years to life, ensuring he'd likely die in prison. The Cropsey legend, once a child's nightmare, had morphed into something darker, because it was real. But even now, the truth feels slippery. Some believe Rand was a convenient scapegoat, a mentally unstable drifter made to carry the weight of Staten Island's failures. A man with no money, no lawyer, no alibi. Easy to convict, easier to fear. Others believe he was just the tip of the iceberg, that the tunnels beneath Willowbrook still hold secrets, that Rand didn't act alone, that the full horror of what happened in those woods has yet to come to light. In 2009, a documentary titled Cropsey reignited public fascination with the case. It explored not just Rand's crimes, but the power of urban legends and how fear can become fact. Because what started as a whisper became a myth, and that myth became a man. Even today, the ruins of Willowbrook draw curiosity seekers. The buildings have mostly been demolished. The land now houses a college campus, but the tunnels, many say, still remain. And every so often, someone disappears down there with a flashlight, hoping to find the truth. Or maybe hoping not to, because Staten Island learned the hard way that sometimes the stories we tell around campfires, they're not stories at all. They're warnings. Thank you for listening to The Lantern's Tale. Subscribe for more true stories, if you dare.